working on Christian mental health. This is the second class. We want to just take a look at behavioral disorder. So as I told you last week, this quarter is focused on the mental illness. There are so many mental illness. So we want to just take a look what the types of mental illness, and then hopefully next quarter we want to just work on how Christians, take care of those mental illness people and their families, because those people are always around us, and we cannot just ignore them, because we value all people and we matter all the lives, and that is what Christians are supposed to do, because we have missions, and at the same time, taking care of people are part of a huge part of actually of mission, what we are supposed to do in our whole lives. The behavioral disorder is about our behavior, what we do, So it is more about, we can actually see what's going on to those people who have behavioral disorders. There are some other subtypes of disorders, under the behavioral disorders, like ADHD and and something like that. So we want to just take a look at those things too. I don't think we can just take a look at all things, but we want to just take a look at some important and core types of behavioral disorders. All young children can be naughty. That's right. They don't know how to tell a lie. So, and when they see when they meet ugly people, they think and they say not pretty, or they can say she or he is ugly or something. They are naughty because they are not socialized yet, fully socialized or fully something like that. So because adults, they know how to tell a lie, or they just know how to say something smoother than stronger. Anyway, naughty, defiant and impulsive from time to time, and which is perfectly normal. That is right, because we are all the way to mature little by little. So, however, some children have extremely difficult and challenging behaviors that are excuse me, that are outside of the norm for their age. So we are expecting, development. We are growing, like physically, like a body, and mentally, mind or soul, and socially, okay, so relationship, right? And spiritually, because we are Christians, but spirit or spiritual development is not limited to Christians only, because Buddhists and shamanists, they are growing in spiritual way. So spiritually, like the soul, or ethically, right? Ethically, it's kind of moral, right? Moral, and how to follow the laws and we respect our parents and take care of our kids and families well. And we are basically selfish people. Selfish, all people are selfish, but how can I sacrifice, myself for helping people and families and something like that? So the development, we expect all development, and there are stages. Okay, there are stages. We can develop, or we can develop negatively too, because as time passes, some people can get trapped by something or somebody, or by some environment. They can grow negatively too, right? So socially, for example, I think I mentioned the hikikomori last week, and hikikomori means staying in his or her room or house only. So they never step out of their house or rooms. That's kind of isolating themselves. Okay, they build their worlds, so they want to just stay alone with many particular reasons. So that is kind of socially. Social development wise, it's kind of a negative development. Anyway, we expect all the ages, physically, mentally, ethically, socially, spiritually. But we expect something loud, noisy, and those things, like for preschool and kindergarten or some elementary, sure, but if that is too old, why we are considering their ages, when we can see something really old or weird, that's kind of difficult to take care of those people. So, and then we have to attention to those things. The most common destructive behavior disorders include positional defiant disorder, like ODD, and conduct disorder, CD, and attention deficit hyperactivity disorder, ADHD is quite popular one. And these three behavioral disorders share some common symptoms. So the diagnosis can be difficult and time consuming, because we want to just see which one is which. Is this ODD or CD or ADHD? So depends on how we diagnose this, the treatments and approaches and counselings and sometimes medicines, and those skills can be different. So we have to be careful to see which one is which. Because those three, especially those three behavioral disorders, they share pretty much common symptoms and things. So diagnosis can be difficult and time consuming. Yeah. A child or adolescent may have two disorders at the same time. Yes, we don't have only one mental disorder, but we can have kind of mixed. We can have a mixed mental disorders. And one mental disorder can affect two other mental disorder too. Yeah. A child or adolescent may have two disorders at the same time. Other exacerbating factors can include emotional problems, mood disorders. We're gonna take care of those things later. And family difficulties and substance abuse, like drugs, alcohols, tobaccos, and many other things. Bond and gas. So those are quite difficult. It's very dangerous for those kids because they're supposed to grow. The brain is not matured yet under, 20s or something like that. Some people are claiming that guys' brain gonna be fully mature mid-30s or something. So I think, but that depends on the situations. But the brain scientists can say, people's in a certain age, their brain can be fully matured, but that's physically. But our body, my body is fully grown. I think I'm actually getting old, and but we can say, well, body is matured, fully grown, but what about the brain? Brain is fully matured physically, but am I fully matured? Am I fully matured person? I don't know. Depends on how we define mature, but it depends on how to decide whether there is matured or not, right? So we cannot consider only physical things or organs and many other things. But anyway, ODD, that's oppositional defiant disorder. So we want to just take a look shortly that, and then move on to the next two other things, CD and ADHD. So oppositional defiant disorder, ODD. Around 1 in 10 children under the age of 12 years are thought to have oppositional defiant disorder. Okay. So there are roughly 30 kids in a class, roughly, and then we can expect two kids have ODD. With boys outnumbering girls by 2 to 1. Okay. So if there are so if there are 3 kids who have ODD, 2 must be boys. Okay. So some of the typical behaviors of a child with ODD include those things. So it's kind of, I don't know. Sometimes I just wonder if those are really disorders or not. But as I told you, we can get depressed 1 or 2 days, but when we got depressed for a month and 2 months, and we eat a lot less, and we sleep a lot or a lot less, and then when it lasts 1 or 2 months or 3 months with those symptoms, particular symptoms, and then we can be diagnosed, or we can diagnose others as depression. But we can be depressed a couple of days or a week sometimes, but we cannot say we have depression, the mental disorder. So kids can be very hyperactive, and kids can be very depressed, because of the basketball game or board games, and kind of, not invited to a friend's birthday party, or, couldn't make the winner prize in a talent show or something like that, or their parents couldn't show up for the donor, donor with dad or donor with mom in the morning, then that can be very stressful, and that can be very depressive. But we can call that as depression until we diagnose it well. So we want to just take a look at those things, and then we can see what the ODD is for. Okay, easily angered, annoyed, or irritated. Okay. And frequent temper tantrums. Okay. Argues frequently with adults. Okay. Particularly the most familiar adults in their lives, such as parents. Refuses to obey rules. Seems to deliberately try to annoy or aggravate others on purpose, intentionally. Low self-esteem. I just wrote a dissertation regarding this self-esteem, and I was working on pastoral counseling in a seminary, and self-esteem just caught me, and I wanted to know what the self-esteem is. So I just wrote a dissertation for that. And self-esteem is quite important for us. Actually, our mind and souls and bodies can be supported by our self-esteem we have. So whether that is strong and high enough, if that is too high, you go crazy, and some people have narcissism. And I met a lady who has narcissism, and she was thinking whatever she does, whether that is against breaking laws or something, or whatever she thinks and doing is right. That's what she thought, and she did very immature things, but she thought that is right. Actually, she was working for a church, and I'm still afraid of what's going on in the church she's serving for. That is, I think, very dangerous. It's gonna harm others. It can be very challenging to other co-workers, and it can be very dangerous for the church members she's serving, because she's gonna ruin all other things, and she's gonna make some. I got a mosquito, and she's gonna make some. I think she's gonna break some close relationships between among those church members. I think it's gonna be very dangerous anyway. That is not about actually self-esteem. She was thinking something grandiose, or whatever. I don't know whether that is mental disorder or not, but I think that's dangerous anyway. Low self-esteem. I'm useless, I don't do anything right. I can't make it. I'm a loser because I'm under 6 foot, because I'm over 6 foot. Some people don't like they tall enough. I mean, very tall, cause whether what they what they are doing and what they are supposed to do, and depends on their dreams. Like gymnastics, they don't like tall. They don't want to be tall height, cause when you have tall, very kind of 6 foot something, I don't think you can see any gymnastics athletes, over 6 foot or something, cause it's kind of they can turn and tumbling or jumping or flying or something or whatever, but because they are quite tall, it looks not like very active when they tumble or backflips or full flips or handstands or jumping or I don't know. So I haven't seen any kind of Olympic team members who is over 6 foot in gymnastics. I think I don't know. They can be great, but compared to other kind of shorter athletes, gymnasts, and you know what I mean. So it's when they flip, you can see what's going on. And anyway, so low self-esteem because of short and tall, or thin or fat. There are so many reasons, and they actually collect or choose to make themselves low so they can be lowered by themselves. There's so many reasons. Anyway, low frustration threshold and seeks to blame others for any misfortunes or misdeeds. So only blame others. Okay? Because of you, because of you, because of you. Okay? Always. They don't find anything from themselves but from others only. Those are ODD. Okay? Oppositional defiant disorder. Those are symptoms. Those are what they do. Not all, but some of them, or particular things, and they got trapped by those things, and they can move, step forward positively, but negatively. So that's what happening to ODD. What about the conduct disorder? That's also called a CD. And children with a conduct disorder are often judged as bad kids because of their delinquent behavior and refusal to accept rules. They don't follow the rules. Come over here, and they're gonna go away. Something like that. Around 5% of 10-year-olds. So that means 5%. So 5 kids out of 100. Under 10 years are thought to have a CD. Okay? If there are under 10 years old kids, 110 years and younger kids, okay? And five kids we can see five kids have conduct disorder. With boys, outnumbering girls by 4-1. Okay. There are 5 CD kids who have a CD conduct disorder, and 4 must be boys and 1 must be girl. Around 1/3 of children with CD also have attention deficit hyperactive disorder, ADHD. Sometimes I think because of those things, and I mean under 12, which means 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. So in elementary schools, how many percent of male teachers are there? I think a majority of teachers are female. I'm not talking about the percentage, but the ratio of teachers in elementary schools. Okay, my 2 kids went elementary, junior high, and they are both in college right now, and even junior high and high school, majority of teachers are female. There are some reasons, I think. I don't want to just, explain why there are so many female teachers in our public schools, especially in elementary. Majority of teachers are female. Those are great teachers. I know some teachers are, there are so many churches and pastors, and some pastors are no good. Some churches are no good. Some Buddhist temples are no good. Some Buddhist monks are no good. Same thing. There are many elementary schools, and some teachers are good. Honestly, I saw some, some no good teachers in my experiences. Yes. I mean, mentally and ethically, no good teachers are there. So we have to be careful. So when you send your kids to school, you have to be careful. Who is teaching your kids? Okay. Anyway, I basically respect all the teachers, but I know there are some no good teachers too. Anyway, because majority of teachers are female in elementary schools in the United States, because they have experience as well. It's kind of dangerous to say, but anyway, this is true. I never experienced any girl because I'm a boy. Okay, the same to my wife. She never experienced it as boy because she's girl. Okay, and then majority of teachers are female, and they never experienced boy because those are girls. and they want to just try to understand the boys well too, but they don't have to try to understand girls because they are girls. So when under 10 or 12 kids, especially boys, have more, ODD and CD, then which means they tend to be more problematic than girls, and they can be understood more by female teachers and male teachers. Depends on the situations and how mature those teachers are. But it takes more time and study and understanding for teachers under 10 or 12, so they can take care of those kids better. I mean, who has ODD and CD? Those boys are more vulnerable, and even teachers can say they are bad kids or problematic and headache. Those are very, I don't like those kids, and they can say something no good to those kids, and it can be happen. It can be happen. So teacher's pet, I don't like that word, but that's happening because I have my favorite people, right? We all have our own favorite people. So we can be biased and we can pay more attention to certain kids and people. So anyway, conduct disorder is disorder, but they can get, proper attention from their teachers, or the school counselors can help those kids, right? It can be very difficult, I think. So we want to just be careful whether our kids have those things and whether our students have those things, and especially we want to just understand the boys more a little bit, because environmental wise boys are a little bit more vulnerable, I think, when they have those disorders. Okay, some of the typical behaviors of a child with conduct disorder may include frequent refusal to obey parents or other authority figures, so they have more problem with their teachers, principals. Repeated truancy and tendency to use drugs, including cigarettes and alcohol, at a very early age. Lack of empathy for others, so they can be cruel to others. Okay. Being aggressive to animals and other people, or showing sadistic behaviors, including bullying and physical or sexual abuse. And they have, some kids, some people do those bad things without any mental disorders, because they are cruel and they hate some people. But when they have conduct disorders and they tend to do those things, not all CD kids do those things, but they can do those things easily, I think, and then they don't think shame much, or they don't think they have problems, and keenness to start physical fights, easy to fight. Using weapons in physical fights, so pocket knives, baseball bats, frequent lying, because they want to just cover up those things, what they did and said. And criminal behavior such as stealing, deliberately lighting fires, and breaking into houses, and vandalism for making money, just for fun, for curiosity or something. A tendency to run away from home because they want to just do those things, but their parents don't like those behaviors. A friend of mine, I just have my friend to install lights, so that is kind of motion detective light. So when somebody just passes by at night, the lights on. I just found the lights got broken, but that was broken this much, so he couldn't notice that until I told him. So the light box just bended like this, and I took a look, the hook, the connection, and it's broken. It's hard to imagine that can be broken naturally. So somebody hit it. That's what I think. No one can claim other things, but hitting by something. So anyway, that was very sad thing. So I just hook it again with zip ties. But anyways, those things are happening in our world. So we have to be careful, depends on, all kids are open to conduct this behavior, conduct disorders or ODD, and so we have to, it's not just limited to the poor families or for poor kids, or, those are things, those can be happened to everybody. Okay. A tendency to run away from them and suicidal tendencies. So they just try to cut. Although these are more rare, okay, but those can be happen. Right? Now what about, this is quite popular one, and attention deficit hyperactivity disorder. Attention deficit means when their teachers are teaching them, they're not focusing on attention. It doesn't work for them much. And hyperactivity disorder, that is great. Oh, that is great, and they go crazy. Well, we can do that in a baseball stadium, basketball stadium, and we just play in games and things. But if that is old, as I told you, it depends on the stages. We are expecting certain behaviors, but if those behaviors are way too old and way too much beyond the limits, and we can say behavioral disorders. And the attention deficit hyperactivity disorder is what's called ADHD, and that is getting popular, I think. Around 2 to 5% of children are thought to have attention deficit hyperactivity disorder. With boys outnumbering, oh my goodness. So boys have more behavioral disorders, right? So we want to just understand why boys have more. Is it genetical problems, or is it, parents are just taking care of those kids that way, or environmental wise or whatever, anyway, boys are more vulnerable than girls. And 3 to 1, so 3 boys have ADHD and 1 girl has ADHD at the same time. The ratio wise, the characteristics of the ADHD can include these. There are some dots, I don't know what is that. Okay, inattention can focus on something. So attention deficit, difficulty concentrating, forgetting instructions. They try to, they don't even try to listen to their teachers or parents, but they know, just to do this, and they just didn't hear the directions or instructions, so they just do whatever they want, and they got failed. And moving from one task to another without completing anything, just do this. I don't finish this, but that looks great, and something like that. Impulsivity, taking over the top of others, having a short fuse, being accident prone. I want to do it, so I want to do it, and just do something impulsively. But just get tired or get attention to other things easily. And overactivity, constant restlessness and fidgeting. So what the fidget is? Pew! And just spinning fidgets or something. So they just doing like that. So overactivity. So risk factors in children's behavioral disorders. So we just took a look some 3 behavioral disorders: ODD, CD, and ADHD. And there are some risk factors in children's behavior disorders. The causes of ODD, CD, and ADHD are unknown. Unfortunately, those are unknown. Why? Unknown, but some of the risk factors include gender. Boys are much more likely than girls to suffer from behavioral disorders. It is unclear if the cause is genetic or linked to socialization experiences. Okay, gestation and birth. Difficult pregnancies, premature births, and low birth rate may contribute in some cases to the child's problem behavior later in life. Okay, so there can be some factors. And what about the temperament? The children who are difficult to manage, temperamental or aggressive from an early age are more likely to develop behavioral disorders later in life. Okay. And well, if they have temporal and aggressive when they were younger, and it's hard to change people. It's gonna stay there. And if they had a good experience, whatever that is, to them, and then they have a more chance to repeat those things, right? And family life, behavioral disorders are more likely in Dysfunctional families, for example, a child is at increased risk in families where domestic violence, poor poverty, poor parenting skills, or substance abuse are a problem. Yeah, that can be very one of the major factors for those behavioral disorders. Surely enough, because parents show them certain things, kind of abuse things and break some things or harsh words and violent activities, and then kids gonna learn, oh, if I do something violently, I can solve those problems too, right? And they can be harsh words, and they're gonna just learn it and practice that too. When they got triggered with that. And learning difficulties. Problems with reading and writing are often associated with behavioral problems because they don't know how to pay attention to things. So reading is pretty tough job, I think. You can read whatever you want, but when you read, it takes time, and you don't move much. When you read, you don't move much, right? You just sit down or just lie down and read it. It takes time, and it is not easy. Your eyes get tired, and you have to hold your books in certain ways, and you have to sit down for many hours. And reading books is pretty tough job, I think. That is a tough job. And then you have to pay attention to those stories and systems and theories. So you have to try to understand what's going on. When you prepare exams and when you study this and that, and when you just read books, you feel hungry easily because you are using your brain a lot. Okay? Brain consumes a lot of energy, right? So when you use your head, you are supposed to be hungry soon. So you want to just eat more. Okay? Intellectual disabilities. Children with intellectual disabilities are twice as likely to have behavioral disorders. So intellectual disabilities means you just listening, but you don't understand what's going on. You just learn the mathematics, but you don't understand what the divisions and multiplications are for. So, or there can be many other things like statistics or other things for your. If those things are, crucial for your future and dream jobs, and you have to think about it again, because your dream can come true, because you have to focus on the mathematics. Without that, you cannot make it. So, but those things are quite difficult. So brain development. It's kind of sad, but when it's okay, when we find our, better dreams and things like that. So anyway, diagnosis of children's behavioral disorders. How to diagnose this? That's pretty important, Disruptive behavioral disorders are complicated and may include many difficult factors working in combination. Example, a child who exhibits the delinquent behaviors of CD may also have ADHD, anxiety, depression, and a difficult home life. So there are so many factors you have to consider when you see any kids who have CD, ADHD, or ODD, because those can be happened because of the environmental problems like the parenting, poverty, or too much reality. Okay? Or, I mean, because we can't imagine only poor people can have those things. Not at all. Not at all. All people are open to see those things, so you have to be careful. And diagnosis methods may include how to diagnosis. Diagnosis may be a specialist service, yes, which may include pediatrician and psychologist or child psychiatrist. In-depth interviews with the parents, child, and teachers so they can get more information from their parents, not only from their child, okay, and teachers. Because kids are, they are staying with their parents and teachers a lot, and teachers can see all things up to elementary school. Okay, behavior checklists or standardized questionnaires are important because there are questionnaires and questionnaires. Standardized means when you ask certain questions, they gonna answer, this and that, and those questions, because we have standardized questions, 1 to 20 or something, for example, and then we can see what's going on those kids, and then we can see whether there is a CD, ODD, or ADHD, right? A diagnosis is made if the child's behavior meets the criteria for disruptive behavior disorders in the Diagnostic and Statistical Manual of Mental Disorders from the American Psychiatric Association, APA. Okay. So, as I told you, we cannot say, oh, I think she has or he has ADHD because he or she didn't pay attention to my teachings. And how long? Why? So what other symptoms the kid has? We have to consider so many things, right? So we have to be careful when we have diagnosis on kids. It is important to rule out acute stressors that might be disrupting the child's behavior. For example, a sick parent or victimizing by other children might be responsible for sudden changes in a child's typical behavior, and these factors have to be considered initially. When a child, same to when an adult, but we are just talking about the behavior disorders for children. So, when a child changes his or her behavior abruptly, and you notice something different than the past, and you have to pay attention to the child and ask some questions: what's going on, what happened, what makes his or her behaviors and mood, and and you know the studying performances and something like that. Okay, so asking those questions are very important. Treatment of behavioral disorders in children, how we can take care of those kids. Untreated children with behavioral disorders may grow up to be dysfunctional adults, because it is kind of hard. It is encouraged. When nobody touched, nobody wanted to educate, nobody wanted to take care of those symptoms and problems on kids, they're gonna just do, they think it's gonna be okay, so they're gonna just, or because they have a good experience and good feelings by doing something, then they think it's okay, because I'm happy, and because of those memories, they're gonna repeat those things when they grown up. A large study in the United States conducted for the National Institute of Mental Health and the Office of School Education Programs showed that carefully designed medication management and behavioral treatment for ADHD improved all measures of behavior in school and at home. Okay. So medication and behavioral treatment. Medication is simple, the drugs. What about the behavioral treatment? They are supposed to practice this and that, and they just learn how to act differently in right way and positive way, so they can forget the past, and then just try to just practice the different reaction to certain things, or in relationship wise, in certain relationship settings. So how to speak, how to control the volume of the speaking, how to choose the words. So for example, a boy just used to use harsh words, and the boy can just learn and practice some other words, because there are good or positive alternatives to the harsh words, right? And then they can just try these stuff and positive and better stuff, step by step. And then they can just do those things in their real lives. Treatment is usually multifaceted and depends on the particular disorder and factors contributing to it, but may include this. Parental education. For example, teaching parents how to communicate with and manage their children. Well, I just, raised 2 kids, and I still regret many things I did to them. And recently I have some communication difficulties with my kids too, because I don't know, because I didn't show my kids that I'm a good dad, or they got disappointed with me in some areas, and those can be minor or major or big or small, but anyway, I have some communication difficulties with my kids too, because they open their minds up to this, not that much, but I used to try to at least hear up to that, But now I just want to just open my mind to, and so when they want to just talk about this up to this much, and I think I appreciate it, and it's okay, right? Parent education is quite important because lots of parents don't have their kids, but they don't know actually how to raise them right. All parents want to raise their kids right, and super nice kids and great kids, but they don't know how sometimes. And all parents regret, as I did, what they are doing and what they did, because we make all mistakes. But parenting education enables parents just reduce their mistakes and encourage them to practice something positive things. So that can make their kids better and build better relationships. Family therapy, the entire families have to improve communication and problem solving skills. So counselors or psychiatrists usually they do that because they counselors and other religious leaders, when they have good enough knowledge and skills for family therapy, and they can call all the families and just talk together for this and that. And cognitive behavioral therapy to help the child control their thoughts and behavior. So behavior comes from thoughts, and thoughts can be strengthened by what they are doing. So cognitive behavioral therapy. But they know something. They know what is good, which is good or which is bad, and they want to be good kids, but sometimes they don't know which is good or bad, or sometimes they want to just do something odd or bad on purpose because they like it, or they want to just revenge or just harm others in certain ways, or with many reasons they want to just do that on purpose. And whenever there is just heard this is why they don't want to do it, or they want to just do against those things because they don't like right things, because they don't like their parents, because they don't like their teachers, because they don't like their systems. So they want to do something against those things. Their parents and teachers are saying, why? Very good. Social training. The child is taught important social skills such as how to have a conversation or play cooperatively with others. So when they are in a sports team and they want to be heroes, or kids want to be heroes, and they want to just make goals, or they want to just make points. But if they don't work with others, they can make it. So I just encourage kids to play the team games and group activities, and so they can work together and they can build their social skills with others. So team games are quite good. Anger management. The child is taught how to recognize the signs of their growing frustration, and given a range of coping skills designed to diffuse their anger and aggressive behavior. Relaxation techniques and stress management skills are also taught. That's anger management. We can get anger anytime we are supposed to do, So anger is natural. It's good actually. Okay? we watched the condominium collapse in Florida, and when we see those things, we got shocked and we got angry because the building just passed the safety inspection a couple of days, and then the building collapsed. So we got angry. If we don't anger, we're not gonna fix it. Okay. Support for associated problem, but anger is natural. Anger is good, but how we can react to our anger can be judged by others and by ourselves too. So what we are supposed to do? We're gonna attack others because we got angry, or we're gonna just do something, positive way. You're gonna hit somebody back, or you're gonna just sue, or you're gonna call police, or depends on. Support for associated problems. For example, a child with a learning difficulty will benefit from professional support. That's why they are professionals, because that's why there are counselors in schools, because there are teachers, principals. Okay. Encouragement. Many children with behavioral disorders experience repeated failures at school and in their interactions with others. Encouraging the child to excel in their particular talents, such as sport, can help to build self-esteem. So you can do it, you can make it. They can make mistakes and they can fail too, but let's do it again, let's try again. You're gonna be okay next time, or something like that. So encouragement is very important. And medication to help controlling possible behaviors. We sometimes need medications, depends on the conditions, but medication it can be you're very careful when you just use the medications for behavioral disorders, because it can make your body and emotions calmer than before, but those medicines are quite strong. So before you decided to get medications, you have to be careful. And psychiatrists are supposed to be careful when they prescribe those medications, because those kids, especially kids, are pretty young, and when they try this and that, many other things, and if they can make it, they can just try that. But I don't recommend it that much until they really need it. So we want to just see the point. We need to prescribe those medications to kids, especially. But it helps, actually. It helps. So anyway, those are how we can just take care of those kids and people who have behavioral disorders like ODD, and ADHD, but those are not limited to those behavioral disorders, because there are some other behavioral disorders, but we just focused on 3 things. So we just learned what the behavioral disorders and types of behavioral disorders, and what causes and symptoms, and how we treat those things. So this is it today, and we're gonna see you next week for for the different mental disorders.